Hi, I'm Don Baden from SampleLibraryReview.com. Today we're going to be checking out Ronroco by Gustavo Santaolalla and Spitfire Audio. Spitfire's teamed up with famous composers Gustavo Santaolalla, promising a meticulously sampled virtual instrument library for contact, capturing the beautiful, soulful sound of the composer's 10-string Ronroco. It's renowned for scores like The Last of Us, Babel, and one of my personal favorites, The Motorcycle Diaries. Features a deep sampling, multiple articulations, intuitive performances with note, chord, and sequence modes, built-in effects, and it's promising to deliver an authentic, expressive tool for creating emotive music. Library downloads 1.22 gigabytes. It's sampled from a 10-string Ronroco. There's multiple playing styles we mentioned. There's a sequencer, authentic techniques used. It does run the free Contact Player 6.7.1 or higher. Normally sells for $169. Time putting the video together here. It's on special $135 intro price. And I'll include a link over to our partner Spitfire Audio in the description below. In learning the instrument, I always find it's best to do a little mock-up. We're going to dive into this mock-up in a lot of detail because this really was a way for me to learn how to utilize the library, the way they've got this set up with key switches and all kinds of stuff for more realistic performances. So I'm just going to mute my mic and play back this demo you can hear that I created in about 25 minutes. For the demo here, I specifically wanted to try to use all of the different programming that they used to create the library. They give you multiple options in which to perform either picking actions or strumming actions. And I just want to kind of feel which one might work for me in my future workflow. First thoughts right away, it's a really lovely sound right out of the gate. There's no additional processing, no EQ. And yeah, this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 layers of Ronroco. It does get a little bit too thick. The mixing might not be perfect there towards the end, but I mostly just wanted to see what the library could deliver, like I said, in about 20 minutes or so. So let's dive into each of these use cases and talk about it a little bit more. Now, with the nature of the instrument, there's lots of details about how it's tuned and how you can, play the instrument with your pick and fingering. The purple keys here actually just let you play individual notes. So this is, of course, where you'd play like your normal lines, or if you just wanted to arpeggiate. Now, there's always this handy twiddle functionality, which gives you a hammer-on kind of action. And then there is a legato, which would be slurred between the instrument's notes. For that to happen, you need to be playing a straight up and down the same string. So I'm going to turn the sensitivity way up here. And there you can hear it's only playing the sound of the finger hitting the fretboard, moving from one slur to the next, whereas if I leave space between the notes, you'll hear a definitive pick for each note. You can hear with that twiddle how we're already starting to get something interesting, which lets you naturally play. Now, oftentimes for lead lines, I'll double it with octaves, and you can hear this little programming that I did with these two different Ronrocos going. It's just enough to give you a little bit more depth and harmonization with down and octave notes. But where the instrument gets really exciting is when you start to use it as it's traditionally used, as a picked arpeggiated instrument here. And there's a pretty neat way they've developed that. You've actually got a chord mode, which will let you pick chords in the purple keys here, and then set those chords to activate your playing. So each of these blue keys would equal one of the strings. Rather than me just try to discuss it, I'll just play the little part that I programmed in. You'll see changing chords throughout the piece, and you also see that we just continue to pluck across the strings using these blue notes. Now, this is one of two ways in which we'll be able to sequence or program in picked notes. We'll get to the other one in a minute. One of the more exciting things about the library is its strumming feature, I believe, because you could just use these two keys down here and strum. They're velocity dependent. And then you've got a little accent for a choke in the middle. This gets exciting once you utilize your chords, which happen in this purple area. And I'll play a sequence there so you can kind of see how that happens and how I used it in context for this piece. And just to make that as clear as I can here, once you zoom into my sequencing, you'll see I've got my chords right before my downbeat, my strum pattern right here, and then this is that key right there, which will set the chord for how the instrument plays back. Another thing that I really liked about the library is on the Calibrate page, you've got some dynamic range. You can see these are all lower velocity strums I'm doing. Nothing's really hard, but they kind of cut through the mix enough because this acts like an upward compression. So if I play back again and move that, you'll hear what's happening with the sound. So without using a harder velocity, I can keep that lower velocity and just give it a little compression inside the instrument. There's several other features. I won't go into tons of details. You got fret noise, which pretty self-explanatory for the most part for most of what's going on, especially once you get to your effects. You've got some presets, reverb, convolution, and algorithmic delays. But the official video will give you more walkthrough detail. As a review here, this will be more of my thoughts about how the instrument functions overall. In addition to the strumming and chord recognition, you can also use this little E here for tremolo, which I think is just lovely. And you notice there too, it does utilize those chords. So you're able to strum those chords really lightly or loudly, depending on what you want, and get something exciting. And this is a way that I built just a little bit of development in the piece. I think this is a really wonderful use of the library because this is one of those things that you just can't fake with a multi-sampled instrument, but they've done a wonderful job of giving us something that achieves what we're looking for. Now, you probably heard a little squeak and squawks. Those are, natural things when you're moving your hands around a stringed instrument like that. They've given you controls to sequence those, which I chose to, although some of the other performances naturally add them in to add more realism. So I'll just play a couple of those so you can hear kind of what's going on with the squeaks. The other thing that's important to think about with these is the lower ones are short, that E, and then the F tends to be a little longer. And they do have a variety of round robins for different kinds of sounds there. The other exciting part about the library is another way to perform both strumming chords and arpeggio techniques, and that's with the sequence part of the instrument. You got 4 different sequence banks. You're able to choose your bar, your time signature, and your subdivision, and then these blue keys actually just trigger that performance. And just like we had before, our purple keys down here will actually give us the notes that we're using for the Ronroco performance. This is really going to expand the use of this library, especially once you see that they've included some of Gustavo's presets. You got 3, 4, 4, 4, and 6, 8 performances. There's not a ton in here, but it's enough that you can get jump started and definitely create or, find a starting point, a leaping off point, I always kind of say. You can also drag and drop that into MIDI if you'd like to work with it with other instruments to follow along with your Ronroco performance as well. This is the plug and play part of the instrument, the part that gets really fun really quickly. However, I didn't feel like it was a plug and play right away. It's more like a plug into your sequencer and then play it back. I couldn't get great performances right out of the keyboard. I really found that once I zoned in on putting in my notes into my DAW and getting those to work the way that I wanted them to, I was able to get much more realistic results. And I just used that at the end of my piece there because those 16th notes really added a little bit more excitement to evolve with it. And again, I was able to use all the different performance aspects of Ronroco to kind of craft it together. Final thoughts here. It's absolutely a pleasure to have Gustavo's Ronroco, the way he's envisioned it, in an instrument from Spitfire in Contact. It's relatively easy to use, I should say. I did have to sit down and rewatch that walkthrough video just as I went along to make sure I understood how the instrument functioned, because it's not one of those instruments you pull up and it's automatically sounding amazing for you. There's all kinds of little things that they've programmed in to get more realism, so you got just a tiny bit of learning curve. I'd say maybe 15-20 minutes. My only critique there is I wonder if I don't pick this thing up here in 3 or 4 weeks, if I'm going to have to go back and do the same thing again, which would be kind of a con. The pros, though, by far outweigh it, in my opinion. I'm a huge fan of the sound of this instrument. I'm nuts about Ronrocos. If you watch the Deal Compressor Show, you probably hear me talk about them all the time. And I'm a huge fan of Gustavo Santaolalla and the compositions he made with the Ronroco as the bass. I think it's an extremely inspiring, wonderful way to take acoustic sounds to make cinematic textures, underscore, and all of that's wrapped up here, delivered for us to use to add as an extension to our scoring tools. Now, there's lots more to the instrument, so go watch those official walkthrough videos, but I wanted to give you my take here, getting to spend the afternoon with Ronroco, getting a video together here to share that with you. But I'd love to hear your thoughts. Please comment below. Let me know what you think about Ronroco. Going to be grabbing this one here. Are you a fan of the composer as much as I am? If you haven't already, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and head back around on Fridays for our weekly Deal Compressor Show.